Test, test.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hi.
Hi, Ann. Hi, Julia.
Hi.
Hi, Lamar. Hi, Ann.
Ann, how was your trip?
Hi, Julia. Oh, it was great. I saw baby Claire. She was 4 days old when I got there.
Oh,
So-
wow.
Beautiful little baby, great granddaughter.
How amazing.
So I'm back.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It was a nice little visit for about less than a week, and I was ready to come home.
Feels like you were gone a lot longer.
Well, it feels longer when you're older too. So I hope everybody's well at your home, Lamar.
Yes, yes. Yes,
Good.
everybody's good. It looks like we've got a quorum.
Good. Very good.
I know that Lisa said she's going to be running late, but I still expect to see her. So I'd like to call the meeting to order at 6:31. And let's do a sound test with Mike and with Rocco. Didn't hear that. I did not. I heard nothing from Mike.
I don't either.
Still nothing. Still nothing. Rocco, you want to try? Can't hear anything from Rocco either. Bo, I assume you're hearing me that our microphones aren't working for Zoom. Oh, you might let me know when people are trying because I can't hear anything at this point. Good evening, Lisa. We're having microphone issues. We'll wait on Bo to make this, to fix this. I know he knows how. Oh, last time this happened, when you were gone, there was a button that everybody found at the very end of the meeting, Julia, when we had these issues. They found a button that hadn't been pushed or had been pushed or something.
So
Yeah,
the
it was that.
the issue is at Town Hall, Lamar.
Yeah, but that's what I'm talking about. There was a button on the speaker at Town Hall. There was just a weird button that had not been pushed when it was supposed to be. We finally figured it out after you got off the call. When we were all there. So I don't know if it's the same issue.
It was something on the table, wasn't it, Lamar, that
Yes.
they found?
Yes, it's on the table where Bo is, all his equipment.
Mhm.
Something on that front table. I guess worst case, we have to send everybody home to get on Zoom.
Lamar, just I'm working on another screen, so I'm totally fine. And if there is an audio problem and I need to present my staff, we'll wait and see how it goes, but I'm flexible either way.
Okay, are you saying that
Check,
you,
check 1, 2. That sounds a little better.
yes, I can hear mine.
All right,
Now,
Anybody else?
give it a try.
Oh, there it came.
Lisa,
What? Oh, hello.
Okay, I hear Lisa.
I believe Mayor Dixon got us on the road here. Can
test,
you guys-
test.
All right, I hear Rocco. Thank you, Mayor Dixon. Appreciate it. Was it that
Good.
same button that we missed last time, Todd?
There's a couple of units that hadn't paired for some reason. There's a pair button on them, so I'm not sure if it's the same button or not, but that's what it was this time.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, do we have any additions, deletions, or corrections to the agenda?
This is Rocco. I have some business for the agenda and titled Coordination with Town Committees. And for the sake of our town planners' time, would recommend we have it under 6A.
All right. Coordination with town committees. Is that a motion?
I move to approve the minutes with the addition of item 6A, coordination with town committees.
Okay.
Second,
Approve the agenda with that addition, and we have a second, it sounds like from Mike.
Yep.
Do we have any discussion? Or are we ready to vote?
let's vote.
Go ahead.
I said, let's vote.
Okay, all in favor, aye.
Hi.
Aye.
I,
Anyone opposed? Nay? No nays, it passes, okay. So let's move forward to the consent agenda, approval of the meeting minutes from last meeting. Bo got these out to us quite early. Are there any changes or additions or anything that needs to be done on these minutes?
I move to approve the minutes as written.
Do we have a second?
Second,
Any discussion needed on it? Are we ready to vote?
Yep.
Yep.
All in favor, aye.
I,
Anyone opposed? Nay. Motion passes unanimously. Do we have anyone who would like to provide public input? Either present or on Zoom? Bo?
I don't have anyone here or on Zoom for public input.
Okay. So we are ready for Julia's report. You're muted, Julia.
Okay, so Bo, I looked in the folder. Did you recover the file, and should I put it up here and share?
No, I'm afraid not. I spent way too much time trying, I swear.
Okay, somehow it ended, anyway, everyone, my biggest regret with this staff report was the graphic on it, and then it went missing, and then that became my biggest regret. So I have it, Bo, I was able to recover it, so can I share?
Yep,
Screen?
1 sec.
So, commissioners, good evening, first of all. Thank you for having me here. This staff report, this staff memo was supposed to go in the packet, and with the changes of meeting date and some of our cloud situation, it did not go in there, and I uncovered it tonight. So Bo will somehow get this transmitted to you.
You should be able to screen share at this point. Let me know if
Thank
you have
you.
trouble.
Thank you. Okay. So this will be disseminated however Bo handles that. So I'm just going to quickly go through it and then answer questions. This was a third quarter status update from planning.
Excuse me, we're still viewing Bo's screen. We're not viewing Julia's screen yet, Bo.
That's challenging because mine says I'm sharing.
Yeah, it came up on mine and said you were sharing, and then I'm still looking at Bo's screen.
Bo, do you have a tech fix here?
The
Oh,
Zoom
that's-
says I am viewing town clerk's screen.
Okay, I'm going to stop sharing and try resharing. How's that? Okay, let's try again. Are you seeing a memo?
Yeah, I stopped my screen share and it brought it up here. Let me move it onto the other screen if it'll let me grab it.
Yes, and I don't know if this is true for everybody else on Zoom, but at the top of my screen, I had view options. And I don't know if I just happened to do it at the same time that Bo did, but anyway, I had a choice of choosing planner screen.
Oh,
But regardless, I'm seeing your screen now.
Okay, so for the commissioners at town hall, are you looking at a memo?
No.
Okay,
I see it on Zoom.
fantastic, Anne. Okay, Bo, there's a link. You can go into the PC cloud folder, and there's a folder for. You'll see it for 1010. That reappeared because I did something magical.
I just put a bottle of white in the refrigerator also.
Fun.
I know, yeah, that's fine. I put the white in so I could have it tomorrow night, cold.
Carolyn, you
Carolyn,
might
you need
mute.
to mute.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Is an Okie shard, Carolyn?
Sorry, I thought I was muted.
Julia, what folder is that in? I'm in here now.
You're in planning commission. Please go to the packets, go to 10/10/2023.
And this technology wonderful.
I'm gonna try one more time.
I got it.
Oh, boy.
Okay. I'm gonna go now.
Yeah.
And I don't want to make much ado about nothing. It really is a brief memorandum with what I would call a giant run-on sentence. And a short update that does include the type of permits that I've reviewed and that are coming up. Till through the end of September, we now have several more. And that's what it says. What the type is, what it's for, and whether the fees have been paid and whether it was approved. So that's just to capture those 3 months there. And there's quite a bit more coming at me and therefore you as we establish things like a contract with our engineer for stormwater and erosion control review. Get a boilerplate easement for some of those. There are other professional services that I'm engaging with. In addition to, I've brought someone on for me to do all of the applications. So everything is down, but it's really that just kind of that word processing, get it down quickly, easily, so we can get those up on the website. And that's really everything that I have here.
I have a question, Julia.
Absolutely.
So when we see decks and fences, is that something that town staff is doing, or are you also handling those items?
No, I'm processing those. I'm engaging with the client or the applicant, and Bo, of course, is handling the fees. So we have the two separate sides of the house, and then I'm producing a staff report for that.
Okay, so it's a little garbled, but you said that Bo is doing the staff report. Is that what you said?
No, Bo is handling the finance and fee side of the house and getting me that information so that I can process and do the review of, basically, in most of these cases, setbacks and sensitive lands review.
Okay. All right. So it was my understanding that we were bringing Julia in for more complicated stuff, and that staff was going to be doing the simple stuff. Bo, is that your understanding, or what was your understanding about how we were going to do this?
Yeah, that is how it was you know, set out to be. What wound up happening pretty quickly is quite a few things that came in looking like simple admin reviews and, you know, processing turned out to be quite a bit more complicated. And so yeah, it's been working out to send things to Julia for initial review and then have them return if they can just be administratively approved. So
Okay. Bo, is this something that you feel like you're sort of getting training on it, and at some point maybe you'll be able to take over some of these more minor approvals?
sure, I think so.
Are you working closely with Julia and learning how to do it?
We communicate regularly, and it has been interesting to see what things trigger, you know, the need for further review and whatnot. So I would say that's true.
Okay, great. Commissioners, other questions, comments?
Yeah, Lamar, this is Rocco. Just a couple questions. September, it has a couple things that say SFH. Can you explain?
Yes. So we received an application for the development of a single family home. Rocco, Commissioner Blasey, if I may clarify, that has not been processed. So that is not approved.
Single family home, is that what you said?
Okay, so SFH is a single family home.
Correct, sir.
Okay. And the other feedback I have is there's no addresses with this. And so I think it would give more clarity to the commissioners to know the locations of where this is happening.
I appreciate the input, and I know that must be frustrating to not see the addresses on there. And the town attorney advises against that. We will not be putting addresses in something like this, a memorandum.
Why is that?
I don't understand. I could drive through town and see people putting up fences.
Absolutely. So for something like this, and we've discussed this before, it's true. And the fence is already approved. So let's use the fence as an example. The fence is already approved. So I can certainly go back and the concern is prejudging anything. And it doesn't make that much sense. I understand from your perspective, because yes, the fence has been paid and approved and is likely under construction. Nevertheless, we aren't putting these addresses down in here.
Because why?
Yeah, we don't understand.
We were advised against it.
Okay, so I guess at this point, I would say the planning commission needs to take the reins in on this process because this is not helpful. You were advised against it.
By whom?
Well, probably the town attorney, which is the same person who came up with a residency memo. I don't know how much the town spent on that, but it's not worth the paper it's written on. But in order for us to do our job and to look around and see what's happening in the town, we need the information.
Okay.
This keeps coming up. I think it makes sense for an attorney to meet with the planning commission to answer questions. Bo, is that something we're able to arrange?
I'm not sure, but I can.
Is this Austin or which attorney was this? Do you know, Julia?
Yes, it is Austin.
Okay, all right.
I could sure send the email and make the introduction with everybody on it. But I'm not sure what legalities there are, either way. So.
Well, we worked extremely closely with Austin on the land use code, so I think we all know him well. But I don't know what the process is for having him meet with our commission. But I think to get everybody clear on the rationale, Julia's not an attorney. And so I think, we need to hear it from the legal point of view to understand, because we do have, as a planning commission, we have a duty to our citizens. And if we don't have the information, it can be frustrating and difficult. So I understand there may be that we need to make some changes in our code around being the appellate body. Maybe that's a discussion we need to have. But
So I want to get clarification here. Obviously, with something, and I'll choose something on the list here, the variance 02 that is still being processed. There's no chance that the commission is ever going to get that address prior to the development application being reviewed. And I want to make sure everyone understands why, right? Receiving the address and prejudging an application or a home prior to receiving it in your packet would be ill-advised. Are we all in agreement on that?
Don't quite understand it. Why?
I'm sorry, is that Commissioner?
I say, I don't understand why that's a problem.
Yes, that's okay. So if I were to send the address and tell you what was coming up in any of these, you would have a prejudgment. It's a violation of sunshine laws, and it would be an ex parte decision. It's absolutely impossible for that to be a reality. And I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page about that.
Well, isn't this our job? I mean, we've hired you as a subcontractor, but isn't this our job to make these determinations?
I'll clarify again. So if a variance is coming to the commission, the address would not be published in advance. It would be in the packet when it is time for the commission to review it, right? Not earlier than that, not as I receive it. And I guess I'm making sure that we're all on the same page with that.
Yeah, Julia, this is Rocco. For many years, we would have the packet and we could go look on the ground how things laid out. Some of us You know, spatially, it makes more sense just to see something on the ground. There were never any ex parte sunshine violations for driving by a property and looking at the lay of the land for some business that was coming before us. Obviously, we wouldn't talk to the landowner in a situation like that, but I think for clarity, we need that information. Sunshine laws, ex parte, if we drive by and look at a property, that's helping us become informed.
Yeah, 100%. And I just want to be clear, the commissioners would receive the packet X days. I would like to have you in front of a packet. It would be for a variance, something like a variance, it would be several weeks, right? Or the notice would be in advance. Then the commissioners individually, singly could go and look at the property. Absolutely. But that is as it comes out in a packet. If I were to say, put the address on here, where we're all looking, that would not, that's what I'm clarifying, making sure that we understand that you would receive it in the packet as it's coming to you, not in advance, like in this spreadsheet.
But by the mere fact, if something comes before us for a variance, then we know that it doesn't have the staff's thumbs up that it meets the code, and it needs an exception to policy, which is the variance. So you've already made that prejudgment for us. If someone comes before us on the docket with a variance, that's your opinion saying that you don't think it meets code and it needs an exception to policy.
I think we're all saying the same thing here and are misunderstanding one another. So I'm trying to get clarification to go to Austin because I was advised of something, and I'm making sure of what the Planning Commission wants to see. When the variance is prepared for review and becomes before you in a packet with all of that information, that is when the commissioners have several days to go and look at the property and review staff's recommendation. As it like this one, variance 02 has not been prepared and it has not been written up in a staff report. So it wouldn't be appropriate for me to put the address down until it comes to the commission. And I think I'm actually making this more confusing right now.
Mhm. Well, we hired you as an extension of our committee. So you're doing nothing more than the committee's authorized to do. So why wouldn't the committee be authorized to see what you see?
Correction, Commissioner Fry. I am actually working as a staff member, making recommendations to the commission.
And the staff members wouldn't be authorized to share that information with us?
As it comes before you, that's when you have all the information, absolutely. As it arrives to the commission for review in a public hearing like this.
Okay, as I understand it, if we think back about how we used to do this, we would have a staff member provide all this information, the entire packet, in the posted documents for our meeting. So it was all made public. We had a chance to see it usually not very many days before the meeting. I'd like to have us have more days for the very reason that Rocco and Mike have talked about driving by, looking at it. And I'd like to have our packets maybe out with this kind of stuff, maybe 2 weeks in advance, as you mentioned, Julia. But the magic moment when we get to see it is the same time, from what I'm hearing you say, is the same time that all the public gets to see it. And that's when the packet goes out. And that's how we've always done it, with staff members providing the address, the entire packet at our meetings. and also public information posted on the website for anyone to see prior to our meeting. I think I would still like to have Austin attend our meeting. It's maybe 10-15 minutes, but to really get clear on why this is the case and how this works. I don't know if that clarifies anything for everybody, but it's not that different from what we previously did. We just don't have a full-time staff member in-house doing this. And that's the difference. The other thing is that we haven't, in July, we didn't see any of this. In August, we didn't see any of this. And so I think there's probably some questions about, especially once it was approved by staff, why we're not able to know the address, why we're not able to see this, because ultimately this commission is responsible for what's happening with planning commission. So just to have the information, I think is a reasonable request, especially once it's approved. So I think those are some questions we would have for the attorney, is all these magic dates and magic moments when we're allowed to have information and why we're not prior to that, if that makes sense.
This is Anne. Can you
Yes,
hear
ma'am.
me?
I can.
I was just going to say that, you know, when we finished up the code, I think this is the result. And maybe we didn't quite understand, but I can see what Julia's saying about the sunshine laws. Everyone's very strict about that. But we will get the information. And then because we also, if they deny something, the people could appeal to us as the appellate board. See, that's the other little quirk. But the staff are the ones that have all the information about what the rules are. And I guess that makes sense, you know? So that's all I can say.
Well, I think we would like to ask questions of Austin, and maybe some changes need to be made in the code if we're not happy with how things have fallen out. And like I said, maybe we don't need to be the appellate board. Maybe that's an aspect. So that can be a discussion, but we probably just need more facts. But Anne, good point. You know, this may be a result or an unintended consequence of our decisions with the land use code.
You know, another thing I'd mention, just historically, a long time ago, Rocco might remember this too. The board used to walk around and look at properties, and then all years ago that was quit. They couldn't walk around as a group and talk to the owner or anything. And that's all a result of the sunshine laws, I do believe. So in a way, it's kind of sad in a little village, but I guess that's the rules. So.
And I don't ever remember going as a group. I'm just confused because if an item comes before the planning commission as an appeal, we already know that it's been denied.
Right.
So why wouldn't we get the address all along? It's just it is frustrating. And I know, Julia, this isn't directed at you. I just think this process needs a lot of more than fine tuning. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks.
So I don't know if we need a motion to say that we'd like to have the attorney, Austin, address the commission for just our quick questions. Do we need a motion for that? Or
Sir Matthews,
yeah,
you can simply, it seems like everyone's in concurrence that the commission would like clarification, and the commission is directing staff to ask for town attorneys attend. I guess you're asking for the attendance at the meeting, virtually, of course.
Okay, that's what we're asking for. Do you need an email from me, Bo, or do you need anything else?
That would be amazing if you craft the language that you'd like presented. I'll forward it on and copy you on it and start the conversation that way.
Okay.
Does that make good
Yes.
sense to do? Is that good? Okay.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks, Bo.
Can I
Lisa,
just
do you
ask
have
one more
some-
question to Julia?
Go ahead, Lisa.
So what is this exactly we're looking at? Can you define it, please?
Yes, this is a memo responding to the commission asking for what exactly planning and the clerk, the administrative office is doing. Just generally what we're doing. And it's a list of items that have come, whether they're paid. It really is much more explicit than I was advised to give, understanding that there's no addresses on there. This is everything that is the third quarter that was in process, whether it was approved and
Okay,
whether it's
so,
pending.
so none of these are prepared for a packet yet. This is just an initial staff review.
Correct.
Okay, so we're talking about apples and oranges. Everybody, so this is what we would never see in the past. This is what, I guess the last person we had was Nate that would prepare things and then one by one have us review a packet. So this entire quarter, July, August, September, there have been no packets prepared for us to review. Okay,
Well, let me just make one additional statement about that, Lisa. Let's look at the entire month of July. We would have always seen decks, and we would have seen fences, and we typically would have been approving them. So those are all things we would have seen. And there would have been a packet prepared for those and presented to us. And I guess my biggest confusion is stuff that's already approved. Why are we not able to see that packet? So.
That's my understanding is that the commission would like I muddied the waters terribly, but that the commission, in the instance of, let's say, July, that the commission would want this report with the addresses of items that have been administratively reviewed, approved or disapproved, and the addresses. That's what the commission is looking for here.
At the very least, and I think that we have commissioners wanting more information than that. But yes, at the very least.
Julia, this is Todd. I think the question also needs to be posed of if we can basically really show the information once the town's issued the permit.
I mean, that's probably public information by that point in time, I would think. If a permit has been provided.
so this is actually great news because we haven't had to review any packets. The code is working. But I wonder if we could just be informed in a more timely manner, per the code, this and this and this happened, this is all new to us, but yeah, if I look at all of July, that was all related to our new code and that we didn't have to get involved. Correct? Am I thinking right?
I think you're right on that because that lets the customer, the citizen, go ahead and get their work done without waiting for us to have to approve, which delays things. That was one of our goals, was to move things along quickly for our citizens.
Well, we move them along without having to come to the planning commission either, right?
Right.
So then that changes our job that we're doing, right?
Yeah, we gave all that to the staff in the code.
So I guess that's another question for the attorney is, how much responsibility do we have over these kinds of things? And if we're not overseeing what's happening, if we're not informed about what's happening, are there consequences for us not doing our job of overseeing? I don't know. So that would be another question for the attorney is how much responsibility do we have in this whole process? Or are we totally hands off and ignorant? I don't know. And is that okay?
I wasn't present for all of the code update, and it looks like it was a long process that the commission worked very hard on. And one of the major changes was to create that administrative approval to do all the things, to accomplish all the things that everyone just mentioned. And allow the commission to focus on something like a variance, which will be coming before you. A major site plan will be coming before you. So I think we are talking about several different things that the commission would like clarification on.
Yes, and maybe relook at the code if we're not happy with how it's all working. For sure. So yeah, my big question is, what are we responsible for? And if so, if we do have some responsibility, and the buck stops with us at some point, what do we need to be informed of to take care of that responsibility? So that it's just a balance. And this also leads me back around to my beginning question with this entire thing, which was we wrote the code thinking that our in-house paid staff would be handling decks, fences, etc., and that we would hire a contract person for only more difficult and complicated things. So, you know, it was a surprise to me that it's working with having Julia doing all of them. So that's another aspect that we were unaware of. I was unaware of. Maybe other commissioners knew that it wasn't working the way we had thought it was going to work, but I didn't know that. And it certainly adds a lot of expense and overhead, more than we had expected to add when we designed this. So those are all questions that I have. Those are all questions I have for the attorney. It's a list.
And I'd like to get one further point of clarification from the entire commission, Chair Matthews. Is it the commission wants to see if Austin will be willing to come to a meeting? A memo is not acceptable. That's a question.
Oh, absolutely. We want interactive questions and follow-up questions and follow-up questions.
Virtually on a meeting with the town attorney.
Yes. Yes. Again, I don't think this has to be long or complicated, but I would encourage commissioners to put their questions in writing and send them to me so that we can make really good use of his time and be efficient so that we don't spend a lot of time or money with him. Is that something everybody's willing to do?
I would, the only thing I'd say, Lamar, I can't think of a question except for him to explain our position regarding the sunshine laws that we were having a little trouble with and how our code works.
Okay, just put it in writing, everybody. I'm asking that everybody put their questions in writing so that I can collate them and combine them and be very efficient with our time with them.
Do we send them to you on our email for the town?
Please.
Okay.
And then I can just send out my combined list that I create with nobody replying, just information purposes only. Unless you can reply only to me if you think I missed your question. Other commissioners, does that work to put some things in writing for me?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Julia, do you have any more in your report for us?
No, Chair.
Julia, it looks like you've been working very hard. I don't know if this is more work than you had expected. And if you're finding it okay, if you're finding it difficult to manage, I don't know where you are on this whole process.
The town staff and I are working to make this manageable. There's a lot of catch up, of course, and the implementation is one level, and then processing these things and creating the process as we're going. There will be a fair amount of work for the commission to do in the start of the new year, because we're identifying some things that could use some clarification.
Okay, all right, so it sounds like we may be working on code a little bit, potentially.
Yes, I'd like to get several items because it does cost money to amend the code, a fair bit of money. So I'd like to get several things and really get a feel for what the sticking points are, if that's acceptable.
Oh yeah, we definitely want your recommendations and your thought process as you're actually in there doing the work, Julia. All right, thanks for joining us tonight. Does anybody else have questions before Julia takes off?
Nope. Thanks, Julia.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Julia. Have a good rest of your evening.
Good evening, everyone.
All right, I believe we are moving to 6A. Rocco, if you want to lead this discussion on coordination with town committees.
Yeah, thanks, Lamar. I wanted to add this business, I wanted to ask the commissioners, at the October 3rd trustee meeting, there was an ordinance and a resolution passed that affects us. It affects your term, and it affects who can be on which committees in the town. And I guess my question for all the commissioners is, were you coordinated with before the trustees discussed this item? So I'm seeing no from Mike and no from Lisa. No from our chair.
I wasn't notified, but I went to planning or work sessions and stuff. I can't remember if that was discussed or not.
So you would know if somebody asked for your input or coordinated with you.
Yeah, and your term was extended from August 16th to December 31st, 2025. Were you aware of that?
Not until I read the thing.
So do you have a problem with that?
Well, no, I
No?
was, well, apparently they were trying to coordinate, I was kind of surprised, because they used to be staggered more. I guess I didn't, tell you the truth, I didn't pay a lot of attention to it. Sorry.
Okay.
I just thought, well, it was passed and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm bringing it up because I do have a problem with the way that this was handled. I don't know if any of the other committees were coordinated with. But I find the lack of communication, the lack of coordination for whoever was behind this, just jaw-droppingly inept. And if this is the best we can do as a town, it's just time to just go home, fold it up, and unincorporate. Because this bothers me, because this affects all the committees in town. And it seems arrogant to me, and maybe it was an oversight, but that's part of the arrogance, is not informing the committees of resolutions and ordinances in town that affect us.
Well, one thing, I thought it was so cool that the fire committee and the trails are open to people who don't actually live right here. I thought that part was.
Well, I mean, that's fine for
that
you
was
as a
good.
citizen to think that, but wouldn't it be nice if the planning commission as a whole could discuss the pros and cons of that and inform the trustees and our town government of how we feel about these changes.
Bo, do you happen to have that ordinance that was passed and you can put it up on the screen so all of us know what we're talking about?
Yeah, I sure do. One sec.
I guess that's just not our job, you know, to advise them on things like that.
Really? I think it is our job to advise them on things that affect our committee, Ann.
Well, does it really affect our committee?
I believe it does.
Huh. Okay. I keep trying to show you my picture and I see that what's on my desk instead. I can't turn it around, but I am here.
No problem,
So,
Ann. We're just waiting on
okay.
Bo to pull this up. He didn't
Okay.
was gonna be part of the discussion.
I,
So he wasn't prompt.
well, that was kind of a surprise. Yeah.
Bo, I don't know if they're seeing it at town hall, but I'm not yet seeing it. Okay.
I just got it up now. I'm going kind of slow. Did that pop up on your screen on Zoom?
Yes.
Yeah, I see it. Uh-huh.
Do we know what the previous verbiage was and what's been changed?
I don't have that.
We're back to the agenda, Bo.
There you go.
This is the one affecting subcommittees, FMAC and PRTAC.
What was the driver for these changes? What was the problem they,
The board's been talking about this for months, off and on. And the general consensus on the board was they wanted to open up fire mitigation and park rec and trails to beyond. Right now, you have to be a resident. And we didn't think that was necessary.
okay,
That was the general consensus on the board. So that's what this one does.
can you scroll down a little further? So we're all expiring in the same time except Lamar. So you basically turn the entire committee over on December 31st of 25.
Probably more work is gonna have to be done. We're having trouble trying to ascertain what the terms were because they were scattered. An original intention was if someone came on in the middle of a term, then they just fulfill that term. And so now it basically is just this is just a reset to set everyone up at first year after around December. I think the committees are gonna have to see if they want to stagger. And then we'll have to redo this if they want to stagger.
I would think they'd want to stagger them with, instead of turning over entire committee,
Yeah,
having all new people on the
Well, and
first of.
so the fact that nobody in the town knew when our terms expired, I mean, that's basic management. And that's not happening is a red flag to me. And that you have all of our terms expiring the same year. I mean, this could have very easily been prevented with coordination with the committees. This is just a really foolish way to do business. And I'm very frustrated by how this all happened.
Well, and it looks like there's some contradicting information. We got ENS extended to 2025 and down below is 2023. So that's confusing.
That's a different organization. That's probably the PPRTA or something.
no, that's Board of Adjustment.
Oh, that's right. We don't have one. So that was taken off at the last trustees meeting because we don't have a Board of Adjustment.
Okay. So, Rocco, do you have a motion around this?
Well, I don't know, Lamar. I'm seeing very little coordination and communication. And the way this town is going to succeed is if the volunteers are mobilized and energized and not ignored. And I hope the town learns from this mistake.
Well, you know, there's not a lot of people in town that are willing to serve in these positions. This commission alone, our regularly scheduled meeting, we couldn't even pull a quorum together. We had to meet tonight instead. I think it's important that the very few people who are willing to volunteer and do this work, they need to be respected and their service appreciated and feel appreciated. So I think one way to do that is to coordinate, ask them, talk to them. We need communication like any good relationship, right? Communication is the key. Other comments, commissioners? Does anybody disagree with or want to have a further conversation about what was decided for you regarding your extended term?
So I don't know where the hierarchy, I mean, the board, so we give recommendations to the board. We're separate, right, Todd? So
No, you actually are decision makers for certain
Decision-
items
okay.
that are identified in the land use code now.
Okay. I thought we also
You also
offered
make recommendations. for
recommendations to the
those
board.
items that are not, where you're not a decision maker.
Mhm. So ultimately, does the board decide does the board decide how many people are needed on the planning commission and assign those you know, the Board of Trustees and then the other boards underneath it. I'm trying to understand. I agree that it would have been great had we been communicated with, and that's a mistake. But on the flip side was the it was like linear thinking, okay, we just need to fix this all up, I guess, because those boards come underneath the Board of Trustees.
The Board of Trustees is pretty much
Management?
governs the town. That's kind of the way it is. Planning Commission has certain statutory responsibilities and has statutory limitations because of that. Anytime you're dealing with property rights and whatnot, you get into that. So
I'm just trying to think, like, why does the board decide how many people, you know, how long we serve our terms and that kind of thing? Is that why, or?
no, this was just purely to do a reset function to try to get everything started beginning at the first of the year, get everything reset to that. So we had a file and, you know, I've seen the file and there were just different
Okay,
term dates all throughout. And so what had happened over time was they had restarted anytime someone new had joined in, instead of what was intended by the code was to actually continue the remainder of the term.
oh,
And so we need
we
to,
started with election of chair and all that stuff. Is that what you mean?
well, you need to do election of chairs around the first of the year. But this is just basically a reset because over time, we had kind of not been doing things, in my opinion, correctly, according to what the board's been told.
Okay,
So to do a reset,
simplify it.
it's basically to get everything back the way it was originally intended.
Okay.
Some people's
But
terms
one
got
of the other big changes is they went from a 3-year term to a 2-year term. Is that accurate?
yeah, that's correct.
Again, I'm not sure what the rationale is for that. It's hard enough to get people to serve and you just kind of get up and going after a year or so and get your institutional knowledge and all that kind of stuff. 2 years seems pretty short. What was the thought process with that?
My understanding is just for consistency.
Boy, it was previously consistently 3 years, correct?
That's incorrect. There was a split between 2 and 3.
So some committees were 2 and some committees were 3.
No, some members were 2, some were 3.
And did the board not want staggered terms? And want everybody to
Well, you can
rotate off
stagger-
at the
you
same
can
time?
Stagger term even with a 2-year.
What's that?
You can stagger terms even with a 2-year, but if you make them all 2-year now, it's consistent for everyone, all members.
But the trustees aren't consistent. There's 2-year and 4-year terms with the trustees.
Yeah, that's accurate. And that's
but
something we
that's
may
not
need to,
consistent.
that's something we may need to reconsider as well.
So I don't follow your logic if you want things to get consistent.
Numbers. There's more committee members than there are trustees. Yeah, outside of just trying to get everything reset and get everything consistent, trying to align it with what the trustees do now, we haven't even looked at that at the board level.
Other questions, comments, commissioners? Well, it looks like we, in the month of December, we will definitely have to have it on the agenda for, renominating and that sort of thing, and, officers. So the Board of Adjustment, is that just going away? Todd?
I think that's the overall intention, because we haven't had one. And I think we had to get, I think we had to get clarification to see if we could just pull one together, kind of impromptu, so to speak. So, instead of having a defined Board of Adjustment, I think we had to get clarification on whether or not we could just appoint one as needed. I'm not sure if we've got that. I'm not sure if we've gotten that ruling yet.
Well, short of saying, just please talk to us when it's something that affects us, we might have some good input since we're the ones actually serving on the commission. I don't know that there's much more to be said. Anybody else have anything? Rocco, anything else you wanted to do with this?
Not at this time.
All right. Thank you, Bo, for finding that and putting it up for us. Bo, do we have any correspondence?
I didn't have any correspondence come in.
We have 2 discussion items under number 8, the guardrail. And then budget recommendations, and they're almost combined. Bo, Phil had sent you, and I resent it tonight. I don't know if you can pull it up and show it to everybody, the attachment that he had for option B, the guardrail removal and replacement costs. If we could pull that up, and then Phil was not able to be here tonight, but he sent me some information that I can make the commissioners aware of. He wasn't able to be here tonight. Phil, as many of us do, has a full-time job, and it's getting in the way of his community work, he says, so he has to miss our meeting tonight. He did not have that much to share, but what he's been working on for the past 2 months is talking to a company called Intech and trying to get them to give us an estimate on the work for remedying this guardrail situation. After 2 months of trading phone calls back and forth, they've now told Phil that they're not estimators, and they also didn't want to make or didn't have many comments on our options, and they referred us to civil engineering firms, which he sorely wishes they had mentioned about 2 months ago. And they suggested 3 different civil engineering firms, and then they also suggested a couple of construction firms. So he's not made as much progress on this as he would like to have made. I do think it's worthwhile for him, and he's offered to contact these firms and try to find a company or a contractor who can really offer some help, because when we provided general information and options and ideas to the Board of Trustees, they really needed something more specific. Intech also recommended that we might want to get a civil engineer to look at the hydraulics, the amount of water that's the total runoff, and design our options based on their findings. So this would add some engineering costs along with the construction costs. And his guess was that those engineering costs would be about $5,000. So as we look at what's up on the screen, his estimate, lowest cost estimate, scroll down just a teensy bit, Bo, because I think there's a bottom line bigger number around 30,000, or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that is the, oh, he added the contingency for 20%. Oh, okay. Yeah. So it goes anywhere from 23 lowest cost, 23,000 up to 34,000 highest guess. I mean, we could say that maybe includes this 5,000 on the engineering costs. He didn't include that in the list. But what I'm wanting to do tonight is, we are supposed to, present our budget requests, on November the 14th. This committee has been allotted 15 minutes to provide their budget requests. Each of the committees have been allotted 15 minutes each. And again, this is something that one would hope that the staff and the BOT would kind of start with the committees and have our input rather than having us a last minute 15 minutes only afterthought as we provide what we feel like we need in the way of budget requests. But to be able to put something together for that meeting, I would like some input from the commissioners and potentially a motion and a vote on what I should bring forward in that my 15 minutes with the BOT.
Lamar, this is Todd, make sure you add that engineering cost in.
It has not, that 5,000 has not been added in.
Yeah.
That was a simple guess. And again, we haven't gotten far enough. He's added, you know, a 20% possible overage, and we could call that the 5,000.
Yeah.
You know, if you
And
wanted.
go ahead and, from what's gone on different projects here, the number I keep getting back from like Wilson and Company is like, you add 15% of the total project cost for engineering.
So he's at.
That's what that's what we use when we go after, grants and whatnot.
So he's added 20%. When I add 5,000 to the 28,758, I come up with 33,758. So our 34,000 worst case scenario number, 34,510 with that plus 20% might not be a bad number. Even with the 5,000 included. Bob?
This is Mike.
Yes, Mike.
Have we thought about just making that a one-way street and forgetting all this expense? This looks like a lot of money to spend just to.
Well, I think there's concerns about emergency vehicles. There's already been accidents on that street due to this. I probably should have included some pictures. I don't know how recently any of you have looked at that.
I drove up there the other day and it looks like it'd be a one-way street if you
Did you?
called it that.
I don't think I would fly.
Okay.
Just my opinion, I don't think I would fly.
Well, I know that we've had input from emergency people saying that that's just not enough space to get emergency vehicles back and forth. There's also the gaping hole that I assume is still there. It was recently that I think is a liability for the town. You know, it just looks like an attractive nuisance to me for children to be harmed going into that. That's another concern I have.
Lamar, I think Public Works got a temporary grate on that.
Good.
And we are, I did confirm that there is a permanent grate that's, you know, been budgeted and paid for, that's, you know, going on as a finishing touch.
Yeah, that was a huge concern when it sat like that all through the summer. Todd, do you have other comments on this? Is there grant money that you know of that could be available for this? What are your thoughts?
Well, a lot of this is probably gonna be, you know, when we try to go through all the mix, when we do the budget. We're probably just gonna be looking at going at what items we're gonna be targeting first for grant monies and going after grants. I'm sure there's probably gonna be some fire safety type items that we'll probably set a fairly high priority on. But as far as town budget, we're so highly dependent upon the vote on HH that it'll either mean we have next to the same and or maybe less with some of the inflationary things, money that we had this year, or we might have a little bit more. Just depends on how HH goes. If it passes, we won't have any more. It'll be lean.
So, the message there is vote against it.
I sent out that's my opinion. And I sent a special newsletter on it where I quoted the actual text from the Senate bill.
Regardless, back to our point for this evening, is there a motion and an amount that this commission feels comfortable making around getting this problem solved?
Lamar, are you asking that this would be our recommendation for the budget, the only recommendation?
For
Is
the
that,
planning commission. And yes, if you have
uh-huh.
other things that you think need to be included in our budget request for planning commission, please let me know. I mean, obviously, we have the expenses for Julia, for the planner. I have no visibility of what she's being paid, what she's been paid to date. Those could be questions we could ask. I don't know, Bo, if you have visibility of that.
I do have those records and I can get you that info.
You have it tonight, because I don't think we're gonna meet. Let me look and see if we're gonna meet.
Lamar, then just attorney or legal costs maybe too.
Yeah,
I don't know how to estimate that, but maybe we should, I don't know. What have we paid in the last or?
yeah, last year we were.
Okay, it's already included. Okay,
But
Todd said.
Lamar, this is Rocco. I think for land use code updates,
Okay.
I would recommend at least $5,000.
Okay. Sounds like that is gonna have to be, and we knew that, you're right. We knew that it would just be a starting point. We were told that. Bo, I believe I'm correct that my report for this committee is on the 14th. And that's the same night as our regular planning commission meeting, correct? So I guess BOT is meeting that night instead.
Yeah, I know that the BOT meeting is on the 14th. The 7th was election day and so it got bumped past that. And we also wanted to see the outcome of some of the stuff that's gonna happen there on election day. I didn't get that far as to figure out that it conflicted with your schedule.
I don't know if everybody here could meet on the night of the 13th, Monday the 13th. And we could finalize our budget proposal then. What does everybody's schedule look like? I can do it.
I could do it also, but let's go ahead and we're here, let's discuss it and then we could just quickly meet. I mean, it doesn't have to be a big deal, right? I don't know.
Right.
already
Well,
talking
it's our
about
monthly
it.
Meeting, and if Julia has stuff for us, we'll have to, but have a monthly
Correct.
meeting. But I agree with you, Lisa, we need to discuss it and come up with sort of a number we can circle tonight.
So if we want to be conservative, there's $34,000 up there on that estimate, right?
34,510, yeah.
Yep, and then we add 5,000 for land use code update potentially. And then we need just Julia's numbers and pencil that in an estimate. We'll have to sort of average that. So then that's, I mean, I can't think of anything else unless. Yeah.
Bo, are you able to just back of the envelope, look at her average over the last quarter? We can extrapolate.
So Julia's pay is under administrative staff. I don't think we have to budget for that here.
It doesn't come under our budget,
No,
No,
okay? Fair enough. Do we think 5,000 is enough for legal?
And do we think 34,000 is enough? I missed the discussion. I'm sorry. I had a phone call, important phone call.
Todd said we ought to add $5,000 to that.
I didn't hear you, Mike.
Make it 40,000.
Make it 40,000.
Yeah, it's 39,510. With
just,
5,000 legal. So that, are you talking about make that 40,000 or make the
The guardrail,
guardrail 40,000?
increase it by 5 or 10,000 just for, we don't use it in the budget, great, but otherwise if the plan can't go through because we didn't budget enough, that would be bad.
Yeah,
That would be sad.
yes.
Does
So-
anyone see a problem with this? Like, we're like, oh, add 5,000, add 10,000. We're not qualified for this. This is a fool's errand right now, okay? And so why doesn't the town figure out? I know it was given to planning commission, but you know, Phil McIntyre, he's doing the best he can. This is what he's come up with, but this is not enough to budget for the project. And I don't think not any of us are qualified. We're just throwing numbers out there. This seems foolish.
Well, but Phil's numbers do give us a starting point for going after engineering, an engineering services grant.
So, Mr. Mayor, I would just say the planning commission does not have the expertise to review these numbers with any certainty. And so anything we would give would have a lot of question marks with it. And so I don't feel comfortable voting on this particular project because, yeah, I've seen maps, but you know, the person who's talked to people, he's not here and he's not getting answers from the people he thought he could. And so maybe Public Works takes a look at it. They take a look at the numbers, but somebody who's a little more qualified than people interpreting land use code.
Concur.
I understand, Rocco. My big concern is that I want it to stay on the radar. I don't want it to fall through the cracks. A year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, I don't want to be driving up Hotel Street, seeing a guardrail in the middle of the street.
So, but I guess our time to influence that is if it's not fixed in the spring, then that's time for voting and we can vote for somebody who gets it fixed. Really, I mean, it's not the planning commission's job.
I think you're right, Rocco. This is Ann.
Todd, is there a better way to keep this on the radar of the BOT? Because I feel like it went over like a lead balloon when we presented it last time.
Well, the board's already voted on the concept plan.
And how did they vote?
It was approved. The concept, you know, the general concept of putting the ditch across with the grade across it, that got approved as,
Okay,
as a
so-
concept, as an overall concept.
So what's the next step? I mean, BOT can ask planning commission to oversee this.
Well, you don't get ahead of yourselves because the first thing that'll have to happen is we'll probably have to go out and get a grant to do the engineering.
So
Because you gotta
y'all,
have all those flow studies and everything else that go along with it.
so, y'all just want to take it on and, we get out of it?
It's right now, it's basically probably with staff. But the next step would be to actually, like I say, go get a grant to actually do the preliminary engineering and the cost estimates, and then you do a grant, basically go after a grant to actually do the work.
All right, I've heard from at least 2 commissioners that want to, take this out of the planning commission's, responsibility.
I would agree. That's Mike.
Mike's in there too. Okay, so I think we have a majority. So are we down to 5,000 in legal? It's our budget that we're asking for land use code updates.
This is Rocco. That's what I propose.
Other discussion on this?
I agree.
You think that's enough?
Yes.
I'm trying to remember what we spent in total to get the thing written.
I'm not much in favor of relying on lawyers that much.
Well,
I think they
I don't
keep
think
us.
any of
spooked and
us
we
are
do
qualified to write the
ridiculous
legal
things.
code. All right, any other comments, Lisa, Ann, on how much, if 5,000 is enough?
I would guess so, although I don't know, do we have to? I don't know, is that just what the trustees do, to get the legal stuff?
Well,
Or,
this is land use code, and so that's our responsibility.
to update?
Yeah.
Oh, I understand now. Okay, sure.
Lisa, your comments?
You might want to title it Land Use Code Maintenance.
Yeah, that's a good
Yeah,
idea.
that's a good idea, maintenance, because there'll be some. We spent 20,000, Austin, is that what he was paid?
I think
Oh.
the total bill was well above that if you consider the first round. we
No,
went
no,
through.
skipping the first round. I mean, when we actually got somebody that did it.
Yeah.
Just our part
Uh-huh.
of
Land
it.
use. Do you remember that?
Yeah, it was 47.5.
Was what Austin, what we paid Austin?
That was the whole process. I don't know where it went.
Oh, I thought it was more than that.
But I did see that number.
I thought it was a bunch. I thought it was like 50,000 before that, and then we started over. That's what it was. It was quite a bit more. It was quite a bit more.
Bo,
Yeah.
I can barely hear you. So 47.5 was just spent while we were working on it, this group, or?
Yeah, well, 47.5 was the 2022 number that was spent. And so if there was expenses incurred before that, I'm not familiar with it, but I think that was for the
How about
The second
2023, this year though, to Austin?
and legal fees.
Oh, that
Uh,
would have been 2022, excuse me.
Yeah.
Yeah. 'cause
Yeah,
finished-
we had several attorneys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
our total legal fees this year aren't even close to that.
Okay,
I can tell you that as of the amended budget that happened for 2023, we were right at the budgeted amount. So that's all on the website. I don't remember the number exactly, but we were really close and we asked for a little bit more to get us through the end of the year with just current projects that are in the works. So.
well, in my memory, it was about 20,000 or 25 or something when Austin for his work in the last half. So, I mean, 25% for maintenance, I think that's appropriate. I agree with the 5,000.
Okay, I'd probably say 7,500, but it sounds like most of y'all are at 5. Just so we had a cushion. I don't know what all it's gonna take to update this code, but, so do we have a motion?
Well, Lamar, if you introduce the 7.5, I mean, I'm not opposed. Are you, Rocco?
Well, the reality is it could be 7,500, but I also think we need to place limits around what we as a planning commission are willing to accept for cost for updating land use code. I think we did good with the code rewrite, but that was a lot of our time. That was a lot of your time, Lamar, Lisa, doing the coordination. But I think I would rather just keep it to 5,000, so we know that that's our framework that we need to be bounded by. And then maybe we step up like we did with the code rewrite and try to offset the costs with our time.
I'm fine with that if it's possible. Yeah, I mean, I've always worked with attorneys where a lot of times I'll draft it the first time and they fix it. But,
So Lamar, I'll make a motion that
okay,
that the planning commission submits a budget of $5,000 for next year.
do I have a second?
Second,
All in favor, aye.
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 Anyone opposed? It passes and it will be earmarked for code updates. Well, that shouldn't take me 15 minutes to do, so I should be able to fit that in. All right, I think we have gotten through our agenda. Is there anything else that's pressing that anybody wants to?
Yep. Do we
add?
want to set up the time for the next meeting?
Yes, the 13th at 6:30 Mountain Time. Does that work for everybody?
Yes. For me, anyway. Mike?
I think so.
Okay, we're checking.
Anybody else have an issue?
Yeah, 13's fine.
Lamar, I don't know, but I'll let you know.
Okay,
And I do have one last thing when you're ready.
I'm ready.
Requesting, did anyone get feedback about our staging proposal to the trustees and where that went?
Todd, do you have feedback on that? I don't.
Is it still in the works?
It's still being considered, I think.
The memo was written, it was
Yeah,
according,
it's still in work.
it was presented to BOT at their last meeting, or it was in the agenda, according to Bo. Was it discussed by BOT?
Yeah, I don't remember any significant issues.
The catcher was the one paragraph.
I can't hear.
There was one paragraph, I can bring it up and find it, but there was one paragraph where it had to do with the timeline of construction. And if that timeline was exceeded, the contractor would have to reapply. I don't remember the exact language in that clause, but the consensus at that previous meeting was that part of it was too strongly worded and might discourage contractors from bidding on work. So where we are now, Becky's in the process, town manager's in the process of making edits to that clause, that section of it, and then getting it onto legal for their final review.
Yeah, I kind of remember that too. Mhm.
Thanks for reminding us to check on that. Maybe that needs to be added to old business so we can keep checking on it.
And I do have a couple FYI items whenever you're ready.
Please, go ahead.
Okay, so broadband. Evidently we got the grant for the two documents, the feasibility study and the strategic plan. The initial bill came back and it was over $120,000, which was over a third of the total broadband office's budget. And so we're having to rescope, for lack of a better term. There were 12 municipalities selected out of 50, but like the total budget for all of them was like 300,000. And so the contractor's gonna come get back with us. It's something where once everything gets agreed to, it's the financial aspect is purely between the contractor and the broadband office. Broadband office did seem to be animate that they wanted broadband here in town, and I think they're kind of thinking more along the lines of fiber available to every house. At least that's me reading between the lines. So take that for what it's worth. The other thing is FEMA. We've had our first meeting with them last week. We have another meeting tomorrow. It's going very well, but it's a lot of work. tons of paperwork, lots of time, because you got to take what we did on the roads for damage and convert it to the forms and everything that FEMA has, and they like having things down by day instead of by job. And so we're still in the process of doing all that conversion and getting it onto the FEMA forms. A lot of work, but it looks like it may be worth it. They don't seem to be batting an eye. Originally, we thought we might get between 25 and 30,000. And some of the numbers right now are knocking on the door of 100.
And this is related to the culverts, is that correct?
No, this is just the damage. The repair of the damage. Then we move on into mitigations. And that'll be interesting because even the millings and the binding agent seem to be fairly well received, especially by the FEMA environmental folks. So there's a lot to come on the mitigation side, but we got to get it done within 18 months, which means if things go well, we're probably either going to have to hire a contractor or hire more public works folks and rent equipment in order to get everything done. But, we'll see. Like I say, next meeting with them is tomorrow. And hopefully they seem to like our initial paperwork that we had with the meeting last week. We'll see what they think tomorrow and make sure that we're giving them what they need so we can get reimbursed.
So damage repair is all around costs of the millings and the labor and.
No. Hey, Lamar, don't get them confused. There's damage.
That's a question. That has a
Yeah.
question mark at the end.
There's
of it.
damage, which the damage repair is to get it to the state it was before the heavy rains and hail in June. And that's the hard line there. Anything that makes it more resilient is considered mitigation. And there's two different types. One's under FEMA section 406. The other, and I forget what the other section is. Right now, what we're trying to do is go after what they call the section 406. So more to come. We're learning as we go. This is our first time through, so we've got to get the paperwork to where they agree with it and whatnot, and it's auditable and all that kind of good stuff.
So are culverts still a possibility?
Absolutely.
Okay, so doesn't fall under repair and it doesn't fall under mitigation? What does it fall under?
It falls under mitigation.
Okay,
Mitigation for resilient. It's making the system more resilient.
thanks for that update. Anybody else have questions on that? Anything else, Todd?
Nothing else from us over here at Town Hall.
Okay. Anything else from commissioners?
Nope.
All right, plan on the 13th at 6:30. Thank you all for being here and let me know if you're going to have an issue on the 13th. This meeting stands adjourned at 8:09 p.m. Thank you, Bo.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.